Hi everyone. I'm gonna miss seeing you in shul for Yizkor, but I thought I would share an abbreviated version of what I perhaps would have said if we were together. A little while back, I read the very powerful words of a gentleman who was experiencing Yizkor for the first time since his mother's death. It was actually on the last day of Passover, because as we know, Yizkor is said 4 times a year. It's said on Yom Kippur, our Day of Atonement, but it's also said on Pesach, Sukkot, and Shavuot, the holiday that begins this Thursday night. These 3 festivals are referred to as the Shalosh Regalim, and the Torah says about these 3 festivals, V'samachta b'chagecha, you shall rejoice on your festivals, V'hayisa ach samech, and you shall only be happy. These are the days of the greatest celebration for the Jewish people throughout our year. Now, this gentleman, Yizkor began. The cantor solemnly began the Yizkor prayer. And as those words started to reverberate through the shul, this gentleman started to ask himself, what in the world is going on here? Today is Yom Tov. Today is a holiday, a day of celebration. I have a couple of days off from work. I have delicious food at home. I'm here in synagogue with my family and friends. And he describes having come into shul feeling pretty happy and content. And now he was asking himself, why is God requiring me to think about the death of my mom on such a festive day? Wouldn't it have made more sense to say Yizkor on Tisha B'Av, one of our saddest days of the year, a fast day, when anyways I'm feeling pretty miserable as it is? And as he was walking home from synagogue that day, he found that he had some time to reflect because his kids ran home ahead of him. And as he was reflecting, he went back to his summers as a teenager. His family used to go to the Jersey Shore during the summer, and he started to remember a story of he and his friends. They were teenagers, so they thought they were on top of the world. They felt on top of the world. They were walking along the boardwalk, and all of a sudden they passed the gazebo. And in this gazebo were some elderly people, and they were singing some songs of their youth. And these teenagers started laughing at them, thinking, oh my gosh, these songs are ancient. Why don't they listen to real music like the Beatles or Bob Dylan or the Rolling Stones? And apparently they laughed a little bit louder than they had thought. This group of people heard them, and a lady stood up and said, just you wait. One day you'll be old too. And he remembers feeling really bad that he had obviously hurt somebody's feelings. But the part about one day him getting old, that was just not something he could imagine at that point in time. But now, as he had finished his first ever Yizkor experience, all of a sudden that line, one day you'll be old too, hit much harder than it ever had before. He began to calculate how many years his mom had lived from when she was his age until she passed away. And even as he realized that he still had many years ahead of him, he also came to the realization that those years as well would pass in the flash of an eye. And he started to feel down. It was the second time on a day that he was supposed to be happy that he started to feel sad again. And he was just like, this is not what I'm meant to be feeling on this festive day. But then he had an epiphany. At that very moment, he understood why Yizkor was said on Yom Tov. Yizkor means to remember. And as we recall the preciousness of our loved ones, who no matter what left us too soon, we in turn reorient ourselves to recall the preciousness and the fleeting nature of our own lives and life in general. There is really no better time to refocus and no better time to recalibrate in this way than on Yom Tov, than on a festival. Because Yom Tov is a day that we live in a different realm, a day where we are completely, or at least have the opportunity to completely focus on only what is most important in our lives, our God, our family, and ourselves. And it was at that moment, as he had this epiphany, he began to ask himself, will I spend the last days of Passover preoccupied with the hard work that awaits me after Yom Tov? Or will I appreciate this time together with my father, with my wife, and with my children? Will I spend the day counting down the moments until this long Yom Tov is over and I can once again turn on my phone? Or will I treasure each moment that I now have with my loved ones and in communion with Hashem? He came to understand at that moment that Yizkor is a prayer that not only helps us remember our loved ones that are no longer physically with us, but also reminds us of the preciousness and the precariousness of our own lives. It's designed to strengthen our resolve to appreciate everything we have while we have it. Yizkor is meant to remind us that our time is limited in this world, and of the most supreme importance is to savor every moment that Hashem grants us, especially the moments we are together with those we cherish and love, the moments of our holidays, the moments of Shabbat, the moments where we can focus on the most essential part of our lives. Chag Sameach.